Okay, today's episode is kind of a fun one. We've never done this before, but we decided to share some of our most haunting financial stories, both from businesses that we've worked with and client submissions, or not client submissions, but audience submissions from people that have listened or follow us on Instagram or whatever. These are hysterical, well, equal parts hysterical and sad, but we go through 9 different spooky, scary financial horror stories that are 100% real. And the more you know. I mean, if nothing else, listen to make sure that none of these are you. Um, but we have some good laughs on this one. So tune in to hear our worst financial horror stories. Welcome to the Profitability Podcast. I'm Joey.
And I'm Mackenzie.
Join us as we explore success in business and life, proving that while finance may not feel sexy, profitability is. We are talking today about all of our favorite financial horror stories. And these are going to be a combination of things that we've seen in the industry and also some submissions from people of your favorite business finance horror stories. And we are recording this in October, even though it's coming out in November. It's fine, guys. Just bear with us. It's still spooky season. We've got some good ones. And I haven't read all of them. We all kind of divvied them out before reading them. So you're going to get the raw reactions here. But I'm very excited to read through some of these. I think it'll be a good time. So I think I'll kick us off.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
With the first.
I'm excited.
The good, the bad, and
this one. This one's pretty tame. It's all right. It's a good warm up. Apparently, this business owner,
I can't visualize your face.
Legend has it. This business owner was super passionate about office supplies, which can relate. I also love a good office supply. But instead of ordering 10 cartridges of ink for their printer, they ordered 100. They added that extra 0 in there and got boxes on boxes on boxes delivered of printer ink to the office. We do not service this business, so we did not see that on the books. I can't imagine that you couldn't
send them back.
I mean, where do you get ink that's not Amazon? I would have told them to send it back, but maybe this was in the olden days before
maybe
before 2-day shipping. I don't know.
Well, they have ink, so they won't have to buy ink for a while.
For a long time. Well, the scary thing is that this is like a big company, which I don't know what company they're talking about. But Ken's, do you remember at Omni we had that so I used to have to print literally hundreds of physical paper time cards that people submitted every single week. And so finally we bit the bullet when we'd grown enough. And we got one of those industrial printers. Imagine 10 refills for that printer versus 100 refills. That would have been
big
thousands of dollars. Yeah, they're huge. They come in a huge box.
Oh my god.
And they last for freaking ever because you need them to last forever. But that would have been crazy. Imagine the delivery guy's face bringing in 100 of those things. That would have been nuts.
Remember when I don't know if you were at the new office when we did this, but we ordered all of the jackets and the scrub tops. We had ordered a ton of them, and literally the people showed up in a UPS, not a UPS, a U-Haul truck. And opened the back of it, a roller back, opened the roller back, and there was just boxes on boxes on boxes on boxes of stuff. And so this whole office is women, pretty much. There is not a lot of males. We were all athletes and things like that, so it's not we couldn't carry a box. But we literally came out and we were all right. So we just started unloading boxes of jackets and scrubs and they were where are we supposed to put these? Our storage room is not big enough for this. So we had them,
not that big.
No, we had them, I think we ended up putting them in the conference room, and then we like sorted through them and put them in their sizes and then like organized them. But yeah, that was crazy because they like
You're like storing them under every desk. They're like in every closet. Everywhere you turn, there's jackets and scrub
You
tops.
actually have to wear 2 jackets while you work because we don't have enough room for them in the storage.
Yeah. Take these home, donate them to the shelter. Yeah. That is crazy. Yeah. I feel like, well, do you ever see that on, this is gonna show you guys my interests and hobbies, but do you ever see on TikTok when you're doom scrolling? I swear there's this one person that always does this as like a sales strategy, but it's probably common, where she will always be like, oh crap, I overstocked everything. Like everything must go. But she's always like, crap, I ordered way too many, fill in the blank. I won't call her out, but, and I swear I see it like once a month. She's like, crap, I thought I was getting one box, but like, look at my storehouse of, whatever. I'm like, is this real? It doesn't feel real.
yeah.
But printer ink, that's not very exciting.
No.
That's just
It's crazy though.
sad. If you accidentally ordered like 1,000 pens instead of 100 pens, I wouldn't be mad about that. I go through pens.
I
Like,
never find my pens.
I know.
I know, and I love them. It's got to be. In fact, I have one right here. If you're listening on the podcast, you don't get to enjoy. Oh,
Yeah.
Look at how cute we are. Oh, stop. We're so in sync. Kenzie and I are even matching.
Yes.
It's like the matte,
Yes. I saw some really cute ones on TikTok Shop that were like pastel. They were fun colors. Yeah. I have a stash of pens in my drawer for my children and a stash of pens for me. And I'm like, you guys can have these ones and I can have these ones.
Yeah. If there's ever a pen like laying around the house that isn't one of my special pens, it goes in a completely separate spot. And I'm like, this is for you, heathens. Lesser thans. Yeah. All right, Kens, what you got for us?
Okay. My first one is a business owner decided to save money and do their own accounting. And
we love to see that.
So fun. And so instead of using like a software or anything, they used their own spreadsheets that were very complex, and they unintentionally cooked their books, which led to an IRS agent knocking on their door. Yes, and their friends now call them Spreadsheet Steve.
Okay, actually, I want t-shirts that say Spreadsheet Steve. Don't be Spreadsheet Steve.
Can you imagine?
Actually, yes. Unfortunately, I've been in this profession long enough that I don't know why that shocks me. I don't even know why I gasped, actually. I'm kind of mad at myself because tale as old as freaking time.
Also, like, I just like can't even fathom like doing all of that work in a spreadsheet. You can. It's not unheard of.
But why? Like, okay, this is where I could go off on this. Maybe I shouldn't.
Do it.
Oh well, it's my podcast. I'm gonna do whatever I want.
Off, girl.
I think that sometimes there are people who think that if they bootstrap they deserve a Medal of Honor, period. And sometimes I am not saying that you should be a spoiled brat in business. There is definitely such thing as the grind and the hustle and like, all the things. You got to bootstrap somewhere. However, there's also this tipping point in business where you stop bootstrapping, and we talk about this all the time, but you stop bootstrapping some things because now your time is more valuable. And it's this constant balance. Like, don't get me wrong. But it's when they do it with their financials that cracks me up, because that they spent so much time doing that. And it's just like, why? Why is it really worth saving $500 a year to do it in a spreadsheet? Like, your time is worth more. I'm so sorry. If you're listening to this, I don't care who you are. Your time is worth more.
There's also, I feel like, this tipping point in business when the complexity of your business, like, now is too high for you to be able to bootstrap it. So there's kind of that tipping point as well of like, you can't bootstrap it anymore because the complexity is too much, and you're literally going to have an IRS agent on your doorstep because you're not doing things correctly because you didn't have the right softwares or whatever. And so it's like, please don't let that happen, and just
Don't be spreadsheet Steve.
don't be spreadsheet Steve, please. And just,
We do need shirts.
I love that.
I don't know.
And that's it. I mean, your time is more valuable even if you do it squeaky clean. Even if you don't unintentionally cook your books. I mean,
That is insane.
the way you could so easily double count. And I think it's funny because I think we often, and we're just talking compliance. Like, don't even get me freaking started on the benefits of doing more than just the compliance work of having your numbers physically ready to hand over to your CPA. Like, that's a story for another time. Just compliance, just basic, like, get your numbers sorted for taxes. I can't imagine it not being worth. I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you're not a bookkeeper and when you haven't been in finance for a long time, I think you can take for granted, or maybe don't even realize, how many checks and balances that we have to have in place to make sure that we're not cooking the books. Not only because we're good at math or whatever you might want to call it, or something you could do in a spreadsheet, or even have AI do for you. Like, big believer in AI over here. There are tools. However, there are so many times that we have to, in a day, double check our work through a series of internal controls, we'll call them, or even like inside of softwares. You can screw up QuickBooks. You can screw up NetSuite. The most complicated and the most beautiful softwares that are amazing will be wrong if you don't use them right. And if you don't know about those checks and balances, you will cook your books. So chances are you won't get an IRS agent on your front doorstep, but like, why risk it? Is it really worth the gamble of $500 to risk it? I mean, give me a break.
You'll pay more
Spreadsheet Steve.
mail.
That's so true. So true. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's kind of my living nightmare, the one that I come across every once in a while. And I mean, we could get into our own horror stories on that, of like, most of the people that we take on have QuickBooks, and it's still shocking every time we see one, when we have to. How many times have we had to deliver the news that one of our clients is being or has been embezzled from?
Oh,
Countless.
I think a couple times since I've been here in the year and a half.
And we're young. We're spring chickens out here. Like, I have experience, but not a lot. And for me to have said it that many times is kind of tragic. And we're not talking like, big, huge corporations that we work for. Tiny, in fact, I would say it's more common with the tiny baby businesses that, and the people they know and trust. In fact, I had somebody, who was I talking to? They'll probably know when they listen to this and then shout me out on Instagram or whatever. But I had somebody the other day that was like, yeah, I'm going to hire this relative of mine because I know that she would never do that. And I was like, the only thing that you need to know is that every time I find somebody embezzling or doing something shady or taking, whatever it might be, it's always the person that the owner says, I know that person would never. I'm like, as soon as you say that they would never, they're pretty much a target for doing it.
And I think that those are the worst ones, because they're like, they know, like, they kind of know inside that they're not going to check up. Like, nobody's going to check up on them. And so they're like, oh, I can just take $100 here, $200 here, and they're not even going to know.
And it always starts out that way. At least in what I've seen, it always starts out with like some justification of taking a $5, $5 to go pay for my swig. And then a year later, it's $100. And then a year after that, it's $1,000. And then 15 years after that, turns out your business is going under because your good old friend, sister, husband's ex-wife's dog, whatever. It's always like the people that are closest. It's just sad.
It blows my
Okay, that got heavy. It's supposed to be fun.
It's one of those things that as a business owner, you have to be so highly aware of and have like either a good finance team or good checks and balances and things like that to be able to put in a plug there. Wink, wink. Finance team. But
only we knew one of those.
That's crazy. But like real talk though, you have to have those checks and balances and things in place so that those things don't happen. Like, you know, we've come across that where we're like, this isn't right, something's not right, something's not matching up, there's this money here that should be, that's not, like, why is that? And then come to find out, you know, an ex-employee was still getting paid or whatever. Like, it's just things like that that you're like, if we hadn't had those checks and balances in place, we would have never caught that, and the employee would have continued to collect thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And
I should mention too, I would say that accounting mistakes that we come across in businesses that are trying to bootstrap it, I would say 90% of them are unintentional. Like, I'm not out here being the most critical and pessimistic is not the word I'm looking for, but cynical person, you know, like, I get it. I would say 90% of the time it's, well, we integrated this software and it was accounting for our inventory, or Shopify integrated and it brought over one number, but we actually got a different number. Or I mean, just today, right? Like, we came across this. My understanding was that we were selling something for 200. So why did it come over for 300? Well, it turns out we accidentally charged the customer 300 and no one even knew until it came across our desks. And then we had to be like, what happened, you know? And so it's just, it's unintentional things like that, that even when you have the best processes in place, you just need a filter for all that crap. Like, the profitability project acts as a great filter, in my opinion. But when you're putting it in a spreadsheet by yourself at 2 a.m. and trying to do your bookkeeping for the whole year on December 31st, you will cook your books. You will do it wrong. And you will either pay too much in taxes or pay too little in taxes, which is another set of issues. And then, yeah, the IRS isn't going to be happy with you. So that's a good one. That's a really too close to home right there, Ken's. I'm having palpitations, heart palpitations over that one. All right, Beck, you're up.
All right. Okay. An entrepreneur invested heavily in a trendy product that turned out to be a total flop. They humorously recounted their hopes for a pet rock comeback, which ended in a garage full of unsold inventory that they eventually became their new coffee table.
No.
Oh, that's tragic.
Yikes. No, thank you.
That one is sad because we live and breathe by small businesses, and I tend to get very emotionally attached to our clients in a really healthy, totally normal way.
Yeah.
Mostly, I should rephrase and say, I get really attached to their business ideas, and I start to like, I shouldn't say start, but like when I get to know someone in their business and I see their passion, I'm like, this is really going to do big things. Like, I'm really excited. You know, I get into it, and sometimes that is probably not the best. Luckily, I don't invest in my clients, but
I mean, we do. But I also feel like we're pretty good at being like, maybe not.
Yeah, I have gotten better over the years. I will say, I say no to things way easier than when we first started, even like a year and a half ago. Like, anyone that came to me with a business idea, I was like, oh my gosh, you should totally do that. Like, I could see that working. And now I'm like, well, call me when.
Yeah. Or we like, I think too, it's sometimes we can be like that reality check for people a little bit, because they're like, oh, here's this business idea, and you know, I want to go and do this, and then we kind of go, okay, like, that's great, but like, here's some things to think about, like, you know, X, Y, and Z. And then it kind of gets them like, oh, okay, like, if I am going to do this, what do I have to know? What do I have to do? Like, things do I need to have in place, you know?
I feel like even with our clients right now, if they want to do something, new or they want to add a new product or service, they normally will come to us and be like, this is the investment we're going to have to put in. Do we have the resources in our budget or our books right now to be able to put that into action? And so that's another good reason. I'm not trying to boost us up, but like another good reason to have a finance team, because you can rely on us to tell you if you can. Well, ultimately, it's your choice to do what you want with your money, but we can give you advice on budgets and stuff. So,
Yeah, it is really pretty cool what we can do when it sounds so silly. I don't know what it's always kind of shocking to me that my mind works in numbers and not everyone does. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but when it comes to business, every idea that you sink your teeth into feels like it has legs, whether it does or not, depending on how, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I get this. Like, I'm the same way. I think of this idea and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I run it by two people that I trust and they get excited. And I'm like, that's it. The world needs this. It's going to be successful. And it's like, well, well, you are those two people, by the way, in case you're wondering. So thanks for being my hype people. But it is kind of cool to be like, okay, let's look at this. We've got, what's it actually going to take to get that product or that thing off the ground? And then let's say it's X number of dollars. Okay, if we lost that money today, if we just took that out of the bank and it went down the drain, would we be fine? Okay, there's your answer. You know what I mean? Like, do you have $10,000 to just throw down the toilet? Best case scenario, it turns into $100,000. Worst case scenario, you just set it on fire and it's gone. Can you survive both scenarios?
I know. And I think too that obviously the finance part of it's really important, but having what's the word? Like the team behind you to be able to do that is really important too, because if you have to hire someone new to be able to execute this, that's also something you have to take into an account. So if you don't have to hire someone and you can have the money right there, then heck, go for it. But there's so many factors that play into this that are going to make or break an investment like this person in this example.
And I like the example of like investing in your own business too, because I think that's more common.
Yes.
At this stage of business is like, okay, we're making a decision of where to spend our time and energy, which is our money, in the long run. And a lot of times, especially I feel like this year for us, we're taking more of a gamble. It's not like, it's a little bit riskier. I'm not saying we're huge risk takers, but like there's a few things that we've done this year that are just a little bit riskier. And when I have you guys come to me, or when I come to you and I say, okay, I want to do this, you guys are really good about being like, okay, so it's this number of dollars, but it also could mean this impact and this impact and this impact. And did you think about, like, I think even really good business owners will go, okay, that's going to cost me $10,000. But Becca might raise her hand, like you said, Becca, and say, okay, yeah, that will cost you $10,000. But what about the employee that's going to have to back you up here? And that's an additional thing that you didn't think about. And then, like, we've just been in the industry and see this happen literally every day because we're fractional. It's one of the benefits of being fractional, that we think of questions that you might not think of when you're really emotionally charged about a new idea. Again, speaking from experience and my own, like, dog with a bone, I get excited about an idea and then I'm like, why is not everybody jumping on this train with me? What's wrong? So it's kind of nice to have like a truly data driven, totally why the word platonic is coming to my head, but that's not the word. Totally like non-emotional team to be like, okay, let's actually think logically here. So that one's so sad. That does happen. And to good people, because business just can be a gamble like that, you know.
I'm so excited. I honestly don't know what to expect. We've had so many different.
This one is kind of funny, but it actually reminds me of another story I heard on a different podcast, so I'll share them both. But this one is a team member, we see this all the time. A team member submitted an expense report for $200, and when questioned about it, said that it was a business lunch. And the store or the place that they went was not a restaurant, but rather a theme park. So yeah, the accountant had to unfortunately break the news to that employee that theme parks are not typically tax deductible, especially when you try and put it in as business lunch. That's just raising all kinds of red flags.
Yeah. Wow.
The story that this reminds me of, though, is one of my favorite podcasts is HR Besties. And I love listening to them because they get some accounting nightmares because HR works so closely with finance. And they had one where a guy submitted a receipt from Walgreens that was like hundreds, literally hundreds of dollars, on which included Plan B.
Oh, no.
Joking.
And then they questioned him about it, and he was like, well, it happened on a business trip.
No.
Yes, that is a real story.
I have a good excuse.
Imagine.
Not.
Imagine. I mean, we could tell stories. We could go on a whole podcast, do a whole podcast episode on the crap that people try and write off as business expenses. And like, listen, I get it. Like, there's a time and place to be liberal, and there's a time and place where that's just not acceptable. But some of the crap that people try to pull, I'm like, really? 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 Like, really? Just.
I can only imagine what else was on that receipt.
I know.
If Plan B was on
$100 at Walgreens.
like,
I would not want to be the
I could at least go to Walmart.
I would have died, first off, if HR asked me why that was on the receipt. And second off, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean, I would lie and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry it was on there. Like, don't reimburse me for that. Reimburse me for this.
It's so layered. Like, first of all, you're admitting to buying Plan B, which is just kind of one of those things you don't want to share in the office, if it were me. But then you're also admitting by saying it's a business expense that happened on a business trip. It's a good thing I'm not in HR, because you bet your booty the next question that I'm asking is with who?
Is this someone on the team?
Tell me everything, because if it happened on a business trip, now I'm looking around the office going,
who? Yeah.
Yeah. Never catch me in HR.
oh yeah, oh my gosh, we have to keep things highly confidential. But you know that TikTok trend that's going around right now, that's like it's the Sex and the City sound, and she's like, no one wants to hear that information. Bree's leaving her husband. Like, as soon as she hangs up, she's like, Bree's leaving her. That is us internally. Anything, any tea, I'm in Slack. You guys will never guess. Yes, guilty, 100%. That is why I did not choose HR. That's bad.
We are HR.
Plan B. It's one thing, like pregnancy test, dicey. Birth control, unfortunate. Condoms, worse. Plan B, the deed is literally done.
Yeah.
You are admitting to post hoc. It's happened. It's over.
Oh gosh, I would.
And also, it was a mistake.
I would have not turned the receipt in. I would have not felt comfortable turning that receipt in. I just don't even understand.
I would have yeah, I don't get it either. And I'm like, I would have Sharpied out half the, the stuff on.
So, okay, back up. I should mention that initially when he submitted the receipt, he submitted the full total, but the receipt was ripped in half. And he tried to get away with just half the receipt, and he's like, oh, I couldn't find the other half. And they're like, not good enough, buddy. Like, Walgreens? No. So, what was on it? And then he finally fessed up and gave the other half, and that's where they found that it was Plan B.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, that's so sales bro coded. I'm so sorry, but $1,000 says that was a guy from the sales
Guys
team.
from the
That
sales.
is hilarious.
It's just, yeah, I'm going to go on a business trip. I'm going to hook up with someone. Then I'm going to buy that coworker, keep in mind, coworker a Plan B pill. And then I'm going to submit it to be reimbursed because it was like to truly be so delusional to believe that you could get away with that as a business expense is just classic.
Crazy.
Makes me laugh.
So anyways, if we could all take our clients to Disneyland or to the Bahamas or something so we can write it off, that'd be it's perfect. All right, you're up.
All right. This user submission says a client insisted that they could write off their pet as a business expense, claiming it was a comfort animal for working long hours. The owner had to explain that while they love dogs, the IRS might not share the sentiment.
An employee was trying to get the business to pay for the service animal. Am I understanding this right?
So, no, sorry. The business owner was trying to say, hey, my pet is a business expense because it's a comfort animal. So it's like helping me while I work long hours.
I have so many questions.
They had to explain that while you love dogs, the IRS does not.
Who's in charge of your hours? You're the business owner.
Yeah, stop working so many hours.
Wait a minute. I feel like maybe you have control. Okay, I feel like maybe it was an employee.
Because contractors can can write off business expenses, but I don't think employees could.
I'm not telling anything, but based on who this is from, I think that the client was a client of a CPA firm.
Oh.
And so you're right. They were a business owner and were trying to write off their pet. And when it says the owner had to explain, that's the owner of the accounting firm.
That's so funny.
Guys, the crap we have to deal with. Someone send me a gift card.
That is...
This is a hard job.
Yeah. You can write that off.
Starting a GoFundMe for mental distress. Yeah. It's a write-off, you guys.
Write-off. That one is.
That one counts. I'm gonna need a service animal. Like, I'm gonna get canceled for this. I don't
get canceled.
I'm gonna choose my words carefully. I don't. How do I want to say this? I do believe in service animals, and that's a really horrible way of putting it. I'm not saying that that's not a legitimate thing. What I am saying is to say that it's like to buy it through the business and then say, but it's for my personal mental health. Like, then pay yourself a benefit stipend. I don't know, like figure something else out.
Yeah.
But like, pay to buy a dog through the business, make it the business's dog.
Yeah. The only way I could maybe possibly see that working is if you owned like if you were a therapist and you had a dog in your like office. But even then, like, I would imagine that like it would be, because I think like therapists have dogs or like animals in their office sometimes, like when they have therapy. I've seen it before. And
okay.
So like I think that like you could maybe do that, but it's almost like a home office. Like you don't get to like write off your entire house or your entire mortgage because you have a home office. You only get to write off what's in like what office space you have in your house. So you could say like, okay, the dog was $1,000 and I have to buy it food every day or whatever and write off like a portion of it. But
yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that's a good analogy.
Yeah, I think if they're serving as a medical need, you can write them off.
Like if you have like epilepsy or
big fat asterisk.
Yeah. The income of the company, then I would feel like they are serving. You know? Don't quote me.
I just like, okay, but here's my thing. And you guys listening, you're going to learn this very quickly. We have a tax department I am not a CPA. Me, Joey, not a CPA. Becca, Kenzie, I know, shocking. Do I know a lot about tax because of the field I work in? Yes. Am I going to give you tax advice today on this podcast? Hell no. If you see it on my Instagram, it's not personal tax advice. You cannot take it as such. This is just broad general data, and I can get into your specifics with my tax team come tax time when I've seen your numbers. Feel like that disclaimer needs to be like on every episode. However, I know, yeah, don't come knocking on my door, IRS. Big fat disclaimer. However, what I will say is there are so many ways to get, I'm going to use this term very loosely, creative. I'm just thinking of this person. If this person came to us as a client, I would be like, no, you cannot write this off, but do you know what you can write off and count as a business expense? An HSA account for you and all of your employees. So let's just do that because now it's tax free. And if you really truly needed a service dog, you can use your HSA to buy one. Problem fetching solved. Like, why do we have to be sketchy, people? There's ways to handle this crap. Sometimes I'm like, you try so hard to be shady that you actually make it very complicated. And there's ways to make this tax deductible. Just don't be shady about it. Like, I don't know. That's hysterical though. It's always those freaking. It's too bad too because I shouldn't get into this actually. Oh well, spicy sauce right now. It just actually, like, the people that do that are the ones that give the people with legitimate problems a bad rap. Do you know what I'm saying? It's the Karens that bring their chihuahuas on the plane and then they're like, it's my service animal, that makes the people that actually need service animals get a bad rap. And it's dumb. And that makes me annoyed. Okay, we veered now. I'm getting off track. I'm just really passionate about service animals. Just kidding. I'm not. I don't like animals, period. That's my real problem. Has nothing to do with service animals.
I had an animal growing up, but I would never now. My children ask me daily for a cat, and I'm like, sorry, not happening. I'm not taking care of an animal.
I have too many things to take care of. I can't even take care of myself. Like, hard pass.
Yep. As women, life demands a lot from us, but there is no reason for you to put your business goals on hold. At the Profitability Project, we understand that your business can't be your whole life. Balancing personal life and work is always hard, and we want to help you make the most of every day. We are here to craft financial strategies to help you achieve the lifestyle you want. With options ranging from online courses to done-for-you services, you'll discover new ways to maximize profitability, streamline your operations, and take the guesswork out of taxes. We have what you need to take your business to the next level. Interested? Learn more about the Profitability Project at theprofitabilityproject.com. That's theprofitabilityproject.com. Get ready to grow your business without sacrificing your entire life.
Let's see. A business tried to go green by implementing a strict budget to save on utilities. Sorry, read ahead.
She's giggling.
Instead, they ended up with more candles than they could burn in a year, turning their office into a romantic retreat rather than a productive workspace.
Like, they turned their electricity off and used candles instead.
Like, they just wanted to be more green, use candles.
No way that's real.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Also,
that's like taking budgeting to a whole nother
dungeon at night. Like, there's windows. Why candles? I'm so
just a true. Yeah, surely the natural light could have done something, but also
no windows.
Let's talk about how many. Yeah, no windows, sealed doors, absolutely no light.
We need to follow.
Once again, have so many questions.
We need a
These are good.
Question box. Be like, excuse me, can you a question now?
Please submit the full. Okay, disclaimer: if we do this again, which I'm thinking we will because I'm having a great time. If we do this again, please like answer the question on Instagram of like what happened. Like give us the one-liner. Then email me a full dissertation. Okay? I want names, I want dates, I want details. Like I won't share everything. I know how to be discreet, but I personally, unfortunately, will be needing every ounce of the tea. So thank you. Thank you for providing that. That's nuts. Also, candles are expensive. So
They really are.
that seems crazy.
What candle?
I would feel like
Maybe they were a candle company. Maybe they were making their own
They were
candles.
making their own candles. So
I would
maybe
get
it
a
was.
headache if so many fumes were in there. I love candles, but like too many candles.
Then let's talk about like, what about like those like battery operated?
No,
Like,
bad for
Yeah.
the
Is that less green? I guess. I don't.
It's bad for the ozone.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I
We
wish
need some
we could
blue light
answer
glasses.
questions. I wish we could bring this person on so they could actually tell us more, but
That's what we need to bring on, like an HR person,
so funny.
like a fractional HR person that could tell us like some crazy stories.
I know a guy who could come over, help us out. HR Besties is a good one, a good podcast to listen to for that stuff.
Well, that was a good question, but not the best one. Or not the question. That was a good submission, but maybe keep your electricity on.
Yeah, and save money a different way.
Save money.
Will help you save money a different way.
Will make your budget work for you.
You won't have to.
We will budget for utilities and still make you profitable. That is what we can do for you. Also, fire hazard. Have we talked about that piece of it yet? That seems
I hope that they
so
do
unsafe.
business insurance, because
Imagine, okay, do you remember, Kens, when we reference this a lot now that I'm thinking about it, but the job that we worked together, he often built, because it was kind of like a small town, and anyways, long story short, he often built his own offices, like built office buildings, commercial office buildings, and then he would move us into them. And we were growing really fast, so like it seemed like as soon as we moved into one, we would outgrow it, and he'd be working on building the next one, and then we around and around we went. There were rules when we moved into that first office building, which I feel like were totally justified. And it was like, don't eat food at your desk because we don't want mice or bugs, or it's just gross. Like this is, they bought very expensive commercial desks for every office and like, all the equipment, whatever. So it just gets greasy and probably yucky if you eat on them. I would know nothing about that because I never eat at my desk or drink at my desk because that would be gross. But I think the other one was candles. I specifically remember him being like, we do not burn candles because you will inevitably light this place on fire and then I will have to kill you because I worked so hard and spent so much money on building this office, literally with my two bare hands.
That
is justified to be like, no candles. Imagine being like,
never thought about it like that. It's very true though. They are dangerous.
every time you guys think I'm a bad boss, just remember that at least you get lights, okay? In your own homes. In your own home. You do have to pay for the utilities, unfortunately, because it's your house, but
we should also talk about how, remember that lady that came in and were you there at that office when they pranked us? Not the newest office, but the one that was right by the hospital.
So in my mind, there's three. There's like the OG that smelled like coffee.
Yes.
The second one that I worked out of, and then the third one that I never worked out of.
The second one. So after.
Okay, they pranked us?
Yes. Were you there? I'll have to look up the picture. Who was it? It was like she had to come like check. Oh, was it?
Oh, yes. I remember. It just hit me. Yes. Oh my God,
This
Savannah's so
story
good. You have to tell this
crazy.
story. This
Okay,
is so good.
who is the lady that came though? What was she?
She came from the PUD,
Was it the
the
PUD?
public. Well, that's what she said,
Oh,
Like the utility
didn't
department?
she? Yeah,
I can't remember.
didn't she? And she had like a construction
Yes,
vest on.
she had a construction vest on, and I can't remember if she was. Let's see if I can find it.
She looked very severe. Okay, and I say that in the nicest way possible.
She
Like
was
you could tell she,
furious.
like, yeah, she looked scary from the get.
Yes. And they had like all week kind of been telling us like, hey, they're coming in to do like a check, like they're going to check the building. I think they were checking like fire alarms, smoke detectors, like they were kind of doing their last final like check of everything.
Inspection.
Yeah, like inspection. That's the word I'm looking for.
Maybe that's what it
I
was.
think
She was
kind of
doing an inspection
Yeah,
from the city.
like the last inspection that like we needed. And we had like moved in there and been there. And so they were telling us like, hey, she's coming, like, you know, just be on your best behavior, like whatever, they're just going to come check it. And so she comes in, and like when you walked in the front office, right to the right, there was an office that like three of us shared, and there was like a front desk with like a big window, and then there was like office spaces down the hallways. So when she walks in, we're like the first ones you see, and we're like, hi, like, how can we help you? And she like talks about how she's gonna like, you know, start going through stuff and whatnot. I can't even remember everything that she said, like, but she basically was like, I'm gonna inspect your desks, like blah 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 blah.
Well, it kind of got, I think what happened, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think like she came in and she kind of was like I said, pretty severe right off the bat, and we were pretty nervous
She was
about her
not
coming in.
when she walked in. Like she was very short, very like to the point, not friendly. Like our front desk person is the nicest, most kindest person on the planet. And you know, they walk in and she's like, hi, like welcome, like, you know, what can we do for you? Like, and she just like, you know, she's like bright and bubbly, and this lady is like not having it. And we like, I'm like sitting at my desk behind her going, oh my gosh. Like,
And you have to keep in mind, there's been a couple times at this office, and my office is clear in the back, so I'm not part of this at all. But there's been a couple times at this office where some questionable people come in and do some questionable things. One time we had this old guy like wander back through the office because he was just confused. Like sometimes stuff happens and we kind of have to like, again, we're an office of 20-year-old women, girls, like people pleasing, just want to do a good job, girls. And so this person comes in, and the front desk lady, like Kenzie said, is like, hi, how are you? How can I help you? Like, it's good to meet you. How can I help you? And she's like, where's the owner?
yeah.
And the front desk girl was like, oh, I don't think he's here right now. Or like, I can go grab him for you. Let me give him a call. And she's like, no, he needs to be here right now. Like, where is he? So immediately our fight or flight is like dialed up to 10. We're like already anxious about this encounter just because she doesn't like us. And we're like super nervous.
Would have freaked me out.
And then she goes into Savannah's office, right? Or did she come into your office first?
I can't remember whose she went into, but like I feel like she told everyone to like get out of their offices. So we had to like, I felt like we were standing like back in like the lunch area because she was like, I need to do my inspection. And so like I remember like going, I feel like I went back into like the owner's office and I was like, hey, like this lady's here. Like you might want to come up here like right now. Like she is not happy, you know? And so he came.
Oh, and our freaking manager at the time too. So there was the manager and the owner. And the manager, I feel like we kind of told him, he's like, okay, like it's fine, no big deal. The manager's in on this prank. He knows what's going down. But he's like, it's fine. Like, I'll just call the owner guy. It's going to be no big deal. Like, you just placate her. Like, you just handle, I'll handle this over here. Really, he's saying, I'm going to hide in my office and see how this plays out. And you go deal with it. But of course, he's like, I'll go like see what I can do over here. And you guys just go out there and like, just try your best to be nice or whatever. Like, see what you can do. So once again, Kenzie and the front desk lady are like having to just be like, can we get you a water? And then
That is so mean.
It was
Yeah.
terrifying.
Wait, it gets worse. She goes into our coworker's office, who I think was maybe pregnant at the time. So it is not uncommon for us to have small snacks in the drawers of our desks because half of us were pregnant all the time. So we're like, we need crackers or lemonade or whatever it might be. So, and I want to even say it was like around Halloween time for whatever reason, or she had something, she was in HR, so she had like little treats for the recruits, like little tiny, tiny candy bars that were just in her desk, whatever. So, whether she was pregnant or whatever it was, the lady comes in with like a flashlight, rips open the desk drawer, and goes, "What is this?" Oh, wait, I remembered. They had given us all candy bars that
Yes.
morning.
And they had like,
They had given us all candy bars.
and so they were like in our drawers. And if they didn't give it to us, like they had planted them there. So they had gone into our desk drawers and put like candy bars purposely because they knew that this was coming.
Hilarious.
Yes. She rips open the desk drawer, like has a flashlight for no reason in the middle of the day. She's like, "You cannot have food in this area. Food has to be in the kitchen area." And this poor coworker of ours is like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. Like, I'll just go move it right now."
Like,
She reamed her out. I mean, reamed her out. And I'm sitting in the back of my office going, "Holy, what is happening out there?" I hear yelling and I'm just like panicking. I just,
well,
and then, yeah,
and
turns
then,
out,
so what happened is she came into our office, the three of us, and looked in the one girl's desk and saw the candy bar. And our recruiters were in the other office, and she heard the inspector reaming out the front desk lady for candy in her drawer. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I have like a whole bag of candy in here, like Halloween candy. I've got to get rid of it." So she is literally going through her drawers and like stuffing it in her purse so that she doesn't get in trouble. Like hiding as fast as she can so that she doesn't get in trouble. And we are like sweating. It just went on and on. And then like at the end of it, like they were like, "Ha ha ha, like jokes on you. Like this was just a joke." And she just played it up. And Emily was like, oh, sorry, I probably shouldn't say. Our front desk person was like, she was like, "I felt like something was up." She was like, "You guys like gave us candy bars. Like I felt like something was up, but this lady just came in and was like so crazy." Like,
she did such a good job. Paid actress right there. She was so scary.
and like it was literally crazy. And the owner thought it was just the most hysterical thing. And it was like, it made my blood pressure go insane. Like, it's a good thing he was okay because I think he was going to have to like save us.
Like, if my fight or flight is triggered, I will not believe anything anyone ever tells me.
She, like, Actress of the Year award because she.
Bravo. I wonder what she's doing now.
Like, it was the most crazy experience we've ever had. Like, it was just so crazy.
That's so funny. I'm so glad you shared that.
So crazy.
I had completely forgotten about that, but that was so good. I'm just not a prankster by heart. I know that's going to shock our audience as a type A oldest daughter. It should just be in my blood, but for whatever reason, it's not. And my family wasn't really pranksters. Like, that just wasn't really, we were heavy into the sarcasm and the backhanded compliments. Like, that is the environment I grew up in. We never really did the pranking thing. And, like, I see pranks on, for example, referencing my doom scrolling on TikTok again, that couple, you guys know that couple that puts balloons of, like, whipped cream above the door and they shoot it at each other? I could not imagine anything worse.
I
cannot imagine anything worse. I'm like, who cleans that up?
I know. I just think about cleaning up, and they do show videos of them cleaning up together. I'm like, that's
They do, and I think they've said, like, yeah, they both do it. They both clean up or whatever. 100% of the time, I would be angry if that happened to me.
Me too.
It would just inconvenience me. I would just be like, don't do that.
I
Okay?
don't know what
Don't do that.
balloons, because I just imagine cleaning that up to be the most miserable thing ever.
And they get it on their furniture. They get it in their hair. I mean, it's everywhere.
If that happens to me, like, first thing in the morning and I had to go get ready again, That's
dead, death. Or if it was not hair wash day. I mean, let's just talk about, I've got a routine. I have a plan. It's absolutely unethical in my opinion. I don't know. That's just crazy. All right. Am I up? Do we all have one more? Is that right? Okay. This one is my favorite because this is so real.
mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
A business discovered, one of our clients, we discovered, sorry, small plug, we discovered that a business was paying an employee that no longer worked for the company. And not only did they no longer work for the company, but they had not worked for the company for over a year. And the employee, ex-employee, felt that it was our job, the client's job, to terminate them. And if they didn't, well, that's on them. And they collected a paycheck for a year, a double paycheck for a year. And they just didn't even know that they were paying them.
It's just insane. I would feel so guilty. I just don't understand how people can.
Let's go back to our type A rule following personalities. It's just not in the cards for us. Would you agree that this job has made you a little bit more cynical than you used to be though? Because like I would say that I used to be very trusting, probably purely because I'm such a rule follower. It doesn't even compute in my brain to think about somebody breaking the rule. I had to call Kenzie today because I had I'm going to admit this, and I'm like breaking out into hives over it. I had one of those gift cards for Swig where you pay for the fundraiser card. They will go around and do the fundraiser, and then you get 10 free drinks. And the lady that took my order they're usually the ones that mark it off, but this time for whatever reason she's like, they're going to mark it off at the window. So I'm like, okay, you must not have a pen or whatever. Well, then they didn't mark it off at the window, so someone just gave me a free drink, and it was so I had to call Kenzie and be like, am I going to jail?
She was like, do I go back and tell them? And I was like, no. I was
No.
like, you take that drink. It will be fine.
They'll survive.
And you can go back and they're not.
Swig has taken enough of my money that I'm a loyal customer. It's my one freebie. But I just was like, even admitting that, I'm kind of sweating a little bit. But I'm so trusting, or I would say I used to be more, probably still am, but so trusting of people because it doesn't compute in my brain that someone would collect a paycheck for a year and not tell. That just is how do you even sleep at night? I just don't understand. But
I would be so
now that I see stuff like that often, I'm a little more cynical. I don't know. Do you guys feel more cynical?
I think so. And I think too, it just makes you have your wall up a little bit and be a little less trusting of people. And it's because we have known business owners, multiple business owners that have been embezzled from not once, not twice, but maybe 3 times. And it's alarming that it can even that people have the heart to even do that, heart isn't the right word, but
I mean, kind of,
they don't have a heart, maybe is the right word.
I'm touching Grinch over here.
Their heart was tiny, like the Grinch. But you know what I mean? I think, like you said, because we are these type A finance girls and we try and follow every rule to the book as much as we can, it doesn't even cross our brain that people would do or act like that. And so it just makes you, I think, a little bit more wary of the people around you and stuff. And so it kind of is but I feel like we kind of have to be, because if we're not, then those things will continue to happen. And
so true.
It blows my mind though that it happened for that long without someone on the team, payroll team. Really.
Yeah. Who was running payroll? And I can say that as a payroll girly.
I feel like you would have caught it because you should be.
I mean, you should. The only thing I can think is if they I mean, depending on the size of their company, if they were just kind of like running payroll like on auto pay, like they weren't really, if everyone was on salary, didn't have hours to enter, and they weren't going into the system and entering it and reviewing it. But there's the other checks and balances of like, you should have seen your like expense for wages go down. And when they didn't,
Yeah.
that should have been like a red flag of like, why that should have went down at least $1,000 or whatever,
That's true.
This is a good like example too of kind of the difference between systems and teams. I guess I don't love those words, but let's go with it for a sec. Systems is you have payroll software, ABC, whatever, and it runs your payroll, and you are pretty sure because you have that software, your payroll taxes are getting done and people are getting paid and no one's complaining. That's one way to do it. And for 80% of the people, that's fine because you are smart enough to know that when you terminate someone, you need to go terminate them in the payroll system. That's fine and a decent way to do it. But here's where like true financial maturity comes, in my opinion, is when you have a team dedicated to catching those mistakes, because even a team of 1 or 3 or 5, maybe even especially a team of 1 or 3 or 5, you have so much on your plates that is not something that even crosses your mind. So now you have a team that is watching it and using a payroll software and all of that stuff, but we're integrated enough with your team to know when people are getting hired and fired, and we're making budget decisions with you. So you've now come to tell us, hey, I'm expecting payroll to go down, or we let go this many people or one person, and then we're smart enough to know, okay, the budget's going to go down. And then if we don't see that happen, this is a perfect example of those checks and balances that we were talking about earlier. There's like 3 places that we've now found that discrepancy, and phantom employee does not ever occur. And you think I'm making this story up? I literally saw a similar story on Instagram like 2 nights ago. The phantom employee, like if you look it up on TikTok or Instagram or anywhere, this story is so not uncommon. That's a double negative, but
and you would be surprised at how this is going to sound mean, but how dishonest people are, and if you've just lost your job or you've got fired or something and you've lost your income, I can see how that would be very like appealing, to like,
yeah,
if I just
totally.
try it, like I'm getting money, and almost to like get back at the company.
A year?
It's
a year.
I've seen people do it from.
Okay, but money makes people crazy. I will tell you, money makes people cuckoo crazy. All of a sudden the lines get blurred. Like it is really pretty crazy to see. I sat on, I don't know if you guys remember at the beginning of this year, you probably do. At the beginning of this year, I sat on a call with a bookkeeper for a company, and this company was in the process of hiring us because they suspected suspicious activity from this bookkeeper. Okay, so company has an existing bookkeeper. They had called me and said, hey, we think this bookkeeper is being shady. Can you come in and like, maybe we'll hire you. So I think I'm getting on a discovery call. Turns out they're putting me on a discovery call with said bookkeeper, and they want me to basically witness them asking questions and help them poke holes in her story, which is so uncomfortable for me. Please don't ever make me do that. And she sat there. And so at this point, I know something's up, and he's asking enough questions that I'm putting the pieces together and watching her defend her answers. I'm like, this lady truly believes that what she did is okay. And I'm not here to sit here and judge whatever position she was in or whether it was right or wrong, or, well, actually I am here to determine that. But, there is a right and wrong. It is not a gray area. Stealing from people is wrong, period. But like whether her justification was good enough or whatever, this guy became a client and was very quickly an ex-client because he is the worst human being ever. And I don't say I love my clients. You guys know how much I love my clients. I will not make them clients if I don't like them. period. So, he was horrible. And even knowing that, it's like, just to sit there and watch her defend herself, I'm like, and I was in her shoes. I know what a horrible person he was to work for, and the giant disaster that was, turns out, okay, turns out that another head of the company was actually the one instigating this problem, and that was this bookkeeper's boss. So in a way, she was kind of being told to do it. Now, as a bookkeeper, should you have raised a red flag and said, hey, I know from a general financial standpoint that this is not, yes, but that's neither here nor there. Point of the story is that it was just wild to me, very, very eye-opening for me to sit there and listen to her defend her choice of literally stealing from the company. And she truly, in her brain, had convinced herself that it was totally rational and totally acceptable. And it's because money's involved. I mean, it's crazy what money can do to people. And it's really kind of sad. So all of this to say that don't trust anyone, hate the world. Money is evil. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, money is a very good thing, and there are really good ways to set boundaries around it. But until you've been in our position, you don't know what people are capable of. I guess I'll just put it that way.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right, Kens.
This one is a small business owner accidentally added an extra 0 to their monthly revenue report, and they reported $1 million instead of $100,000. When they received a congratulatory email from their bank, they had to explain what actually happened and explain their mistake.
How demoralizing too to have to go back and delete that 0 after.
Yeah.
Wow.
0. That's all it was.
And in my brain, I'm thinking, well, you would catch that because your net income would be way inflated. Wouldn't you sit there and be like, no, that can't be right? But once again, I've seen just enough craziness and just enough people that don't even look at their finances that I'm like, actually.
Yeah. And they probably just did it and then submitted it and didn't even review it at all. I mean, clearly they didn't because they didn't catch it. But yeah.
Yikes.
It's just crazy.
That's just so sad. I'm just thinking of them having to go oh, just kidding. We only made 100,000.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
That's a huge difference. It's one thing 10 to 100, that's sad. 100 to 1,000, that's a bummer. 100,000 to 1,000,000, that is tough cookies.
And it's one tiny mistake, right? It's just an extra
1-0.
1-0. That's it.
I don't know if you I'm really outing myself on this episode. I don't know if you guys are the same way. If there's not commas, I have to sit there and be like, is that right? Did I do that right? I have to be like, is that 1,000,000 or is that 100,000? I will put the commas in the dollar sign because otherwise I'm like, how many zeros is, whatever. The way that you could do that so easily, once again, if you don't have proper accounting, I wonder why their bank.
I wondered if they were maybe trying to get a loan or a credit card or maybe something like that.
They're like, you're approved. Just kidding, fraud.
Kidding.
Some sort of backup.
Show up at your door.
What did you say, Becca?
So I feel like the bank would need supporting documents.
Typically when you apply, yeah, they do pretty extensive research. They don't take your word for it. But if they had a banking relationship and for some reason we're submitting, I'm thinking, for example, if you had a line of credit with a bank and then you asked for additional support from them, or they were sitting on your board or whatever, so you reported financials to them every month, they might just get the financial statements and be like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. What a great month.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back, which worst case scenario, I mean, in that specific situation where they're just reviewing your financials, worst case scenario, you have to go back with your tail tucked between your legs and admit it, which is just demoralizing and sad. So it's not that big of a deal, but if you did that on, I mean, obviously, right? If you did that for investors or you did that on your taxes, it would be much worse
Yeah.
than that.
Definitely.
And for you, worse for you, because now you have a huge tax liability that you don't owe.
Really, oh, yeah.
And that just opens you up for the red flags. This is, and we talk about this a lot with tax specifically, like you just don't want the spotlight on you. I don't care if you have the cleanest books, it's just better if you don't have the spotlight on you. So avoiding anything that would even remotely get eyes on you for whatever reason, like a huge revenue jump, is really in your best interest. Like you don't want to be audited ever.
And explaining like to the IRS, like it's not just you can't just really say, oh, it was just a mistake, like it was just an extra zero. Like it's not.
It's a huge headache just for an extra zero. It's just not worth it. Yeah. And audits are survivable. I don't mean to say that they're bad. It's just a headache. It's really, really difficult, especially for small businesses. Like it's just not fun. You don't need that kind of time spent on finance. And that's coming from me.
Becca, last one.
An accountant mistakenly, this is kind of like bad. It's representing us in a bad way, but we didn't do it. But an accountant mistakenly sent an invoice to a client with the word fee, but it accidentally replaced by the word free. The client happily paid, and the accountant was left confused when they never received the payment. So
wait, they did pay?
They did, but they paid a $0 balance. And so the account.
Oh, I see. I see.
Hey, they paid, but where's the money? So
Oh.
do you see how easy this crap is? Like it's not even about like you're not smart enough or you couldn't do it yourself. It's just that like one typo without checks and balances in place is such a liability, literally.
I mean, I get this way because I do like AP and payroll. Like I will have 3 spreadsheets of the amounts to triple check my work before I do a single thing. Like I've been doing payroll for I don't know how long, and still every payroll I'm like checking everything, making sure there's nothing crazy, like just eyes on it at all times, because like it just takes one tiny little mistake to like make things crazy. And so it's like
I'm doing it for so many different clients, so it's like
yeah. Oh yeah.
Get on straight somehow. So
even with the AR too, like on Becca's side, like because you do AR for so many clients, like you just have to have those like checks and balances and a team looking at stuff. And yeah, it can.
I feel like we have to share our worst invoicing situation.
Which one is it? I don't even remember.
It's just sad. You'll know as soon as I say it. And if anybody knows me, they've heard me tell this story. It's just sad because it's, again, like this is not because we're the smartest people in the world. It's just because eyes on it makes such a huge difference when you know what to look for. So we came into this company and they specifically said, it's all fine. Everything's fine. I just noticed like 1 or 2 things that I was kind of like unsure about. If you could just come in and like double check for us, that would be great. And I'm like, sure, happy to do that. Of course. A year and a half of double checks later, it didn't take us that long, but it took us that long to really feel like we had uncovered everything. But the first and most brutal mistake was that we had found $2.5 million that they hadn't invoiced just because they forgot. There just wasn't a system in place to get everybody. And to their credit, like the background on this company, they had like 12 different revenue streams. They had 4 different, the point is that it was very complicated and it had scaled really, really quickly. So not for lack of trying, and not that they just it wasn't them being lazy, it wasn't them being uneducated, it wasn't them being bad at their job. It just was like they got thrown a tornado and they were just trying to keep their head above water. I mixed metaphors. It's fine. Point is that it took kind of a third party to come in and be like, wait a minute, something's not adding up here. And yeah, $2.5 million just down the drain because of simple accounting errors. It's just sad. So
again, the importance of systems and a team that can look through this and ask the right questions. And, it's getting things out timely is important, but it's also important to do it correctly. And so you don't miss out on those things and miss out on $2.5 million. It's, I think it was a lot of factors in that. And like you said, it wasn't from lack of trying or lack of knowledge. It was purely just they had such a huge volume of things to do and clients that were wanting their invoices as fast as they could get them, and they were doing their best. And so it just took, it took somebody else coming from the outside and looking at it high level and then diving into all of those layers deeper and deeper to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, it's sad. It's like we talk about the knowledge pie a lot. You know what you know what you don't know, and then you don't know what you don't know. And that's the essence of what we do. All of these stories that we shared today are they fall in that you just don't know what you don't know. And hiring a third party, even just to take a look, could be worth $2.5 million. Just saying.
Just saying.
Just having that, all of these things have helped us grow as business owners and to help our clients be able to not have these issues in the future. That is so rewarding to me, to be able to go into a client, whether they're new or they've been with us for 6 months or whatever, being able to help them through this process and get them through these hard times and being oh my gosh, look at how much money you missed out on a year and a half. And guess what? We're going to get that back right now because we're going to invoice these people on time, yada, yada, yada. That is so rewarding. And it's probably one of the best parts of our jobs, individually in each of our different aspects of oh my gosh, I helped you with payroll. We figured this out. We streamlined it. We're there. And AP, okay, we're on an AP calendar. We do it every week. We know who we're paying. We know what's out there. We don't have any invoices that are floating around that we didn't get entered in the system or we don't know what's going on. It's just things those wins for us with our clients that I think are just so rewarding as a company to be able to help them through this and get them these systems and checks and balances in place. I just think it's so fun and cool.
We're basically the mystery gang for businesses because all those spooky, scary finance haunted houses that you think you might have or you're not sure of, we just come in and we unmask them and we're see, it's not even that bad and here's how we're gonna fix it, no big deal. Or Ghostbusters. We're basically the Ghostbusters. We should be the Ghostbusters for Halloween, financial Ghostbusters. Anyways, I think we should continue to do this. What do you guys think? I think I want to hear everyone's financial horror stories.
I liked it. We should. That was fun.
And no shame in the game, man. The most respected, hugest, that's not a word, companies go through this crap. So
finance in English. So.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm in numbers, not letters.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, if you have financial horror stories and you enjoyed this episode, send us a DM on Instagram because I want to hear your financial horror stories.
Yes.
Or even just your general office horror stories. That was a good time. So, all right, that's it for today. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Profitability Podcast. For more business and finance content, follow us on Instagram at The Profitability Project LLC or visit our website at theprofitabilityproject.com.